In the future, something mysterious appears in the skies and changes everything forever. Going back in time, we see a bunch of female employees shouting good morning to President Wu. And there he is, the most handsome and important man in the industry with his stylish way. Then the young man walks towards his office, leaving everyone drooling over him. People say his aura is very strong and one girl even got a nosebleed. A new girl wants to be his girlfriend, but a colleague warns her that her boss is a demon. Sitting on his sofa, the director relaxes a little, but then he sees a red button. The guy presses the button, and with a snap, the bookshelf moves, revealing a secret. Behind the bookshelf is a collection of action figures and video game items. The young man yells that he needs to relax and sits down to play some video games. Very excited, he says that today he will finish the game and defeat the great demon king. While playing, he notices a new notification on the screen and wonders what it is. It was an option to update the game's expansion, and he decided to select it to start the break. Outside, two women talk about the president locking himself in his office. Suddenly, a huge explosion happens and destroys part of the company. With his consciousness floating, the boy wonders if he died and why he is still conscious. Suddenly, he opens his eyes and sees a pool of blue light with a skeleton inside it. The boy is shocked to realize that he is now just a pile of bones with a sword. Then, he wakes up in a cave surrounded by other skeletons and wonders if he is dreaming. The creature approaches a crystal and sees its reflection for the first time. The skeleton is shocked and gives the middle finger to his own reflection in the crystal. In anger, the bone being punches the crystal, but this only hurts his own hand. The former president remembers the game update screen and understands the situation. He realizes he has been transported into the game as a skeleton and becomes desperate. The creature complains that he didn't enjoy his life and asks for at least one appealing power. A status screen appears showing that he is a weak level 1 skeleton soldier. The ex-human is outraged and would rather die than continue as such a weak monster. But he notices movement and sees another skeleton approaching quickly. The enemy skeleton soldier delivers a powerful blow with his sword. Our protagonist's head is thrown away and a game over screen appears. He sees the group of heroes who defeated him, and they seem to be having a lot of fun. Soon after that, a blonde girl defeats him with a spear, and he dies again. The skeleton reflects on how short life is, and how he didn't make the most of his money. Then a blue light emerges from the ground, and our protagonist is reborn in a magic circle. He wonders if he has just been eliminated and realizes he is alive again. The bone being understands that as a game monster, he can revive infinitely. He hears footsteps and decides to hide, so as not to be defeated once again. Crawling, the former president feels ashamed and thinks he is paying for his sins, but a spear hits him from behind and pins him to the ground, leaving him immobilized. A woman steps on his back to hold him while leaning on the spear. She tells her friend to relax because skeletons are weak and easy to kill. Another girl with silver hair jumps in to deliver the final blow with her sword. She misses the attack and ends up falling down on the ground in front of everyone. The blonde gets furious and asks the skeleton what he's laughing at. With that, the woman steps harder on the protagonist's back, who feels the pain. The protagonist dies again at the hands of that blonde girl and her group. He then laments his situation and wishes to return home, but then sees two skeletons. The bone being is reborn once more and comes face to face with a mounted skeleton knight. This new monster looks much stronger and more intimidating than the others he has seen. Then the boy starts running and yells at the group of heroes to stop chasing him. The blonde warrior wonders why the skeleton is cursing and talking like a person. The creature runs desperately to escape the adventurers who are still following him. Suddenly, the skeleton knight and his troop of monsters appear in front of the heroes. Our protagonist realizes what is happening and stops running, scared by the scene. An arrow hits his helmet, and he falls to the ground, but the troop passes right by him. The former president sits down in relief and celebrates, having been saved by the other monsters. He takes his sword back and faces the heroes, who don't spare even a small monster. With a war cry, the skeleton soldier advances and attacks one of the adventurers. He hits the boy's face with his shield, leaving him stunned. The bone being jumps and prepares a powerful attack with his sword to finish off the enemy. The two girls look up and see the skeleton with a menacing and imposing aura. Desperate, they beg for their lives and offer to do anything for him. The bone being is embarrassed by the proposal and says, "This is too low a test." Taking advantage of the distraction, the blonde woman grabs her sword and advances for a surprise attack. The ex-human is startled by the blade coming towards him and tries to protect himself. He manages to hold the adventuress and accuses her of being a bad woman for attacking him in betrayal. The creature knocks her to the ground and asks how she thought of seducing a skeleton. The former president immobilizes the girl, and she begs him to release her, but he refuses. With that, an intense light appears and completely envelopes our protagonist. He goes up to level 2 in laments that he doesn't have the ability to do what they suggested. Suddenly, everything goes dark, and he wonders what is happening around him. The skeleton knight appears and asks what the little monster is doing. The bone being sits up scared and tries to explain that he is an ally of the monsters, but the knight does not recognize him and identifies him as an intruder who must be eliminated. With a quick movement, the powerful monster attacks the small skeleton without mercy. The protagonist manages to dodge the attack at the last second and is surprised. He jumps to the side and his head detaches from his body, but he celebrates the deflection. Confused, he wonders what the situation is, and if it is because he is a transmigrator. He angrily stares at the knight and complains that everyone wants to eliminate him. The knight attacks again, but this time the bone soldier defends with his shield. The impact throws our protagonist away, but he manages to stay firm. At this point, a notification appears, and he learns a new skill called Reflective Shield. The former president knows that the first rule is for the leaders to take stock before the coup. The skeleton knight raises his sword, preparing for a powerful attack. The bone being concentrates and waits for the right moment to counterattack the enemy. The mounted monster advances and delivers a devastating blow with its shining blade. Our protagonist says that the second rule is to attack quickly after defending. He takes advantage of the opening and attacks the knight with all his strength, defeating him. The ex-human is surprised by the ease of the victory and thinks about attacking again, but the defeated knight gets up and a dark aura begins to emanate from him. With that, the skeleton knight advances with a spinning blow to finish off the little monster. Meanwhile, the little skull is scared and screams in fear, thinking that its end has come. However, from above, the skeleton knight descends with a fatal blow, ready for the final slaughter. But the protagonist decides to risk everything and equips the helmet he had found earlier. Then the knight's attack is defended by the little skeleton, using the helmet to protect himself. With the impact, the little monster falls to the ground in fright and asks the enemy not to come closer. However, the skeleton knight ignores the request and raises his sword for a final attack. Suddenly, a skeletal horse appears out of nowhere and attacks the rider, who was going to kill the protagonist. The little creature is confused, wondering if his opponent was defeated by the horse. He then realizes that the horse is acting affectionate because of the helmet he is wearing. Soon after, a status screen appears, showing that he leveled up by defeating the knight. The protagonist realizes that the helmet is a treasure and can command low-level creatures. Now, with its new companion, the little skull is excited about its new possibilities. The little skeleton gets excited, thinking that this is the beginning of his journey as the Demon King. He then declares to the heavens that he will become the Demon King of that world of magical labyrinths. Elsewhere in the ghost forest, a little boy named Yuni is afraid of the monsters. Suddenly, the monsters notice the boy's presence and begin to advance to attack. The scene then cuts to a random location, showing the blood moon and the dark forest. Meanwhile, on a battlefield, we see a giant zombie sitting among bodies, and elsewhere the protagonist, now with his helmet, commands an army of skeletons. The little skull and his army attack the giant zombie without any mercy. The skeleton then decides it's time to test his new abilities and power of control. Mounted on his horse, the protagonist advances to finish off the zombie with a precise blow. After the battle, he quickly rises to level 5 and better understands the power of the helmet. With his new power, the little monster decides he will conquer the entire forest. But suddenly he hears a strange noise and wonders what it could be. Soon he sees the little boy Yuni, surrounded by monsters and screaming for them not to come near. The skeleton is shocked to see a human child in danger in that dangerous place. The monsters advance to attack the boy, who tries to defend himself with his 2 swords. Seeing this, the protagonist decides to act and advances with his horse to save the boy. With a single sword strike, the skeleton defeats all the monsters at once. Little boy Yuni is impressed by the power of the skeleton that saved him from the monsters. The protagonist's attack was so strong that it created a huge crater in the forest floor. After defeating the enemies, the little skull looks at the boy at the top of the crater. He then approaches the boy to see if he is okay and was hurt in the confusion. Covered in blood, the skeleton asks the little boy if he is okay after the fight. Frightened by the appearance of the skeleton, the little boy begins to cry in fear. Yuni then moves away and shouts at the protagonist not to come near him under any circumstances. The skeleton is confused by the boy's reaction and doesn't understand the reason for his fear. He then remembers that his skeletal appearance might be scary to a child. To calm the boy down, the protagonist tries to communicate by making friendly gestures. The little boy stops crying and asks if the skeleton is serious about helping him. The skull is happy to realize that he has finally found someone who can understand him. He then asks the boy what he is doing alone in that dangerous place. The protagonist is shocked to learn that the boy's father left him there for a test. The little boy says he doesn't know and just wants to go home, leaving the skeleton in thought. The protagonist thinks he can't leave him there, but he also doesn't want a burden on his journey. Yuni then looks at the skeleton with big, bright eyes that captivate the protagonist. The boy's eyes shine with an irresistible cuteness, breaking the skeleton's posture. Melted by the cuteness, the little monster agrees to take the boy home safely. The little boy smiles happily, while the skull is delighted with how cute he is. The protagonist then calls his horse Xiaobai, so they can begin the journey, but when he sees the boy smiling, the horse gets scared, thinking he is a hero. Xiaobai panics and starts running away in fear of the helpless little boy. The skeleton gets angry and wonders why his horse went crazy and ran away all of a sudden. To avoid having to go on foot, the protagonist summons his legion of skeletons to carry them. Now, mounted on his horse with his legion, the protagonist begins the journey to take Yuni. The boy begins to wonder if the skeleton is a liar, who sells children, like his father said. Suddenly, the skull stops and Yuni is terrified, thinking that something bad is going to happen. The protagonist points to a sign and says that the city of the dead can be repaired by adventurers. He is surprised that a place like this exists, but soon realizes he is going in the wrong direction. The protagonist gets angry while Yuni screams in exhaustion while being dragged by a skeleton. Furious, the skeleton complains that they walked for nothing, and now they have to go back all the way. He then thinks that the city is a good chance to get information and level up. The little skull warns Yuni that they may encounter monsters, and that he should hide if they are strong. The little boy nods, still a little scared but trusting his protector. So the team continues their journey, and the skeleton suddenly tells everyone to stop. He gets excited to see a large creature sleeping, and thinks about the experience he will gain. The protagonist orders his minions to surround the skeleton dragon for a surprise attack. As his soldiers prepare, he observes the huge dragon sleeping peacefully in the valley. But suddenly the dragon's eye opens, revealing a sharp and frightening pupil. The creature awakens and stands in all its glory, ready to face the intruders. One of the skeleton soldiers hides behind a rock in fear of the giant monster. The protagonist is in shock, wondering how the dragon woke up so suddenly. The skeletal dragon then launches a powerful attack against the small monster's army. The dragon's attack is devastating and completely annihilates the protagonist's legion of skeletons. The skeleton soldiers are decimated one by one with no chance to fight back against the monster. The protagonist is shocked to see his army being destroyed by a single blow. He then notices that one of the dragon's projectiles is heading towards the little boy Yuni. The boy screams in fear as he sees the attack coming towards him, and the skeleton despairs. The projectile hits the ground near Yuni, but he manages to protect himself from the impact. The little skull is relieved to see that the boy is okay and says he was lucky. Yuni says he is very scared, and the skeleton runs to calm him down and protect him. The little boy starts crying in panic at the whole dangerous situation that is happening, but suddenly a strange glow emanates from the boy as he cries in fright. Yuni then stumbles and falls to the ground, but something unexpected happens next. The dragon's projectile that was going to hit him is deflected at the last second by a mysterious force. The protagonist is stunned, wondering if the boy is some kind of lucky child. The skeletal dragon stands, still watching the battlefield after its initial attack. The little monster tells Yuni not to be afraid, and that he will take care of the giant dragon. The little skull then fearlessly steps forward to face the skeleton dragon alone. Yuni wonders if his Bonnie uncle is protecting him, and thinks that whoever is protecting him is a good person. Watching the battle, Yuni worries about her Bonnie uncle, but the dragon seems to be unharmed. The boy remembers his father's words about being brave and decides to help in the fight. Yuni then throws her sword towards one of the skeletons left on the field. He takes advantage of the distraction to approach the dragon. While the protagonist fights, the skeleton uses his gaming experience to defend and attack the giant monster little by little. Suddenly, Yuni appears and stabs the dragon with her sword, causing considerable damage. The boy's blow deals a triple hit of 666 and stuns the dragon. The protagonist is surprised and asks what Yuni is doing there in the middle of the battle. The skeletal dragon falls to the ground stunned, and the little boy comes face to face with it. Even though she is scared, Yuni doesn't back down and faces the giant monster that is lying in front of her. The boy then attacks the dragon again with his sword, causing another triple hit. The monster begins to whimper in pain, and the protagonist is shocked by the scene. Yuni fills himself with courage and says he is not afraid because he is a brave and strong man. The little monster watches as Yuni attacks the skeletal dragon nonstop. Then, the little boy cries out that love and courage will give him the power to win. With that, the young warrior advances and delivers a final blow to the enormous monster. The bone dragon then flies away and falls off the cliff, defeated by the boy. The giant creature is completely annihilated by the blonde boy's powerful attack. With the victory, our protagonist rises to level 7 and is shocked by the scene. He thinks Yuni is like an anime hero who gets stronger in dangerous situations. The bone creature points to the boy and approaches to talk to him. Yuni gets scared and asks with tears in his eyes if he will be abandoned. The little skull is embarrassed and finds the little boy extremely cute and adorable. The former president coughs a little and thinks the boy is dangerous with all that cuteness. He then makes a scary face, and the boy shrinks back in fear of what might happen. With an evil smile, the skeleton says he will keep his promise and take him home. Arriving in the city of the dead, they see an ancient sign with a skull on top. The bone being reads the city rules, while Yuni plays with a spider on the floor. The protagonist reads that racial discrimination is prohibited except for heroes and becomes indignant. Yuni gets angry and asks why they discriminate against him, and the skeleton doesn't know how to explain. Suddenly they hear a noise, and a zombie dog appears running towards them. The little boy points excitedly and shouts that it is a puppy, while the skull watches. The zombie dog appears with a bone in its mouth and a very strange look on its face. Suddenly the dog's eyes turn into hearts, and he falls in love with the bone he carries. With that, the little dog runs at high speed towards the protagonist and his protege. The dog then jumps up and rubs against the bone creature's leg happily. The former president shouts angrily, asking whose dog is that without a collar. Walking through the city, the little monster notices that the place looks quite abandoned. With that, they enter the city of the dead and see zombies working in the streets. The protagonist then decides to go to a tavern to rest and get information. Inside the tavern, several monsters are sleeping and snoring at their tables. The bone being is surprised to see a magic mirror showing a TV commercial. He picks up the mirror and is shocked, wondering if it is a magical item. The bunny uncle tries to communicate with an old phone, but only receives an automated message and a beep. Yuni says her father has a small device, and every day he sits on the couch watching his sister dance. With that, the protagonist is shocked to discover that even in this world people watch short videos. He then looks into a magic mirror he won and realizes it is broken. At this point, an image of the Demon King appears in the mirror with a message of rest for the players. The protagonist finds the image of the Demon King strangely familiar. He then remembers the Demon King is the same character from the game he was playing. The skeleton wonders if there is any connection between this world and the game he played. With this question in mind, he goes to a bar and asks a minotaur where he can find the king. The minotaur only responds with the words demon and king, leaving the skull confused. The protagonist tries again and the minotaur just says palace and temple. The horned creature finishes with the word expert, but the skull still doesn't understand anything. In a cold sweat, our hero is frustrated at not being able to communicate with the monster. Suddenly, the minotaur belches loudly and falls onto the counter completely unconscious. The skeleton gets angry and complains that the old phone needs to be 3 meters tall to work. Angrily, the protagonist yells at the phone saying it is clearly connected to something. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the Demon King is having fun with a succubus and ignoring her calls. The protagonist is shocked to hear that the call is busy and should try again later. Angry, the little monster picks up the phone and throws it on the floor, wanting to know how to fix it. The scene cuts to the Demon King's palace, a floating structure under the moonlight. Inside, the succubus says she has waited a long time for the king, who is playing a game on a screen. The Demon King then asks what the next move is in the game he is playing with the succubus. Suddenly, a hooded wizard appears and warns that a hero will come to the labyrinth world. The Demon King ignores the warning and celebrates, having beaten the succubus in the game once again. The wizard gets angry and asks if his king is listening as he continues to celebrate the victory. Startled, the Demon King finally pays attention and asks if the wizard said the word hero. The wizard then repeats that the hero will appear again to fight the labyrinth world. The king is terrified and complains that he has already been defeated 999 times by the heroes. With his hand on his chin, he says that this time the labyrinth world must not suffer again. The Demon King then orders an emergency meeting to discuss countermeasures against the hero. As the wizard walks away, the Demon King stares at the portal with a fearful expression. The king then cries in Bella's arms asking for help, because he no longer wants to be defeated. He remembers how heroes tormented him in the past with their malicious smiles. According to the king, the heroes burned, looted, and did all kinds of evil throughout the kingdom. He accuses them of being greedy and immoral, bathing in treasures stolen from their people. The Demon King says that heroes base their happiness on the pain of others and are terrible. Back at the bar, Yuni observes a green creature biting the protagonist's leg, who doesn't even notice. The skeleton reflects that this world is similar to the game, but the only familiar is the Demon King. He then grabs Yuni and asks the Minotaur how he can see the devil to return home. The Minotaur then shows a magazine with a woman named Hela, the goddess of the dead. The horned being is embarrassed, and the protagonist notices that the monster is blushing. An hour later, the Minotaur is still embarrassed while Yuni eats, and the skeleton waits. The little skull takes a drink and observes the colorful skull inside the glass. Disgusted, he throws the drink in his face, but forgets he's a skeleton, and the liquid goes straight through. The protagonist falls to the ground frustrated and wet, wondering what just happened. With a ghost coming out of his mouth, the skeleton begs Yuni for help because he has been poisoned. Soon after, the little skull understands that this world is divided into several kingdoms, and he is in the lowest one. The head of this kingdom is the Grim Reaper Hela, a powerful woman with an imposing aura. The protagonist understands that she is the boss of the level, and it will be difficult to deal with her if there is conflict. So he decides to be cautious and use Yuni's hero aura to increase his strength first. The former president comes across an item shop and is curious about what he might find inside. He smiles mischievously and thinks it's a good opportunity to get better equipment. Meanwhile, in the Demon King's palace, the king is laughing and reading romance novels in bed. A wizard calls his majesty and warns him that the demon generals are all gathered. The king is reading books about romances between demons and heroes with very peculiar titles. He continues laughing and says that the drama is perfect, completely ignoring the wizard's call. Suddenly, a giant teddy bear appears, running down the palace corridor. A demon girl runs after the bear, asking him to wait for her. The girl and the bear jump on the king's bed, who continues reading his books without caring about the mess. The Demon King then notices everyone there and decides it's time to go to the meeting room. The hooded wizard agrees to his king's order with a simple "Yes, Your Majesty." In the meeting room, all the demon generals are sitting around a large table. Nervous, the Demon King begins to cough and announces that a new generation of heroes has emerged. He says he called everyone to discuss how to deal with the heroes and asks for unity, but a baby with a pacifier interrupts, saying that the most important thing is to allocate funds for his floor. A giant gorilla named Dululu agrees and requests resources for the lower checkpoints. The baby then turns to Hela and suggests that they should fight together for more resources. Hela, who is sitting on her throne, simply tells him to go away with disdain. With that, the baby and the gorilla are shocked and frightened by the woman's cold response. The Demon King tries to calm Hela down as she huffs in anger at the situation. The baby then points to a crocodile in a suit and says he must take responsibility. The crocodile, named Cage, replies that his factory is not profitable and will not give him money. Angry, the baby shouts that the crocodile has a lot of money and accuses him of planning a rebellion. The hooded wizard then calls for silence and tells everyone to have a chance to speak. A fire demon named Orntobius turns to the king and asks if he is all right. The gorilla laughs and says it's funny to talk about effort by suggesting removing the lower levels. Suddenly, the demon girl named Fei Yao appears and offers to block the hero. She apologizes for being late, saying she was disciplining her teddy bear, Pee-Pee. The gorilla Dolulu screams in fear when he sees the bear and asks the girl to take him away. The teddy bear jumps in front of the gorilla, who faints in fear with his soul leaving his body. The baby gets angry and yells at Feiya for scaring Dululu with her bear. The demon girl makes a face and says there's no way she's taking the bear back. Suddenly, a mysterious voice comes out of the magic mirror, asking if anyone can hear it. The mirror begins to glow with a blue light, and the voice coughs, as if in trouble. A pink-haired girl named Luna appears in the mirror and welcomes you to her broadcast room. She says that everyone is in crisis, and that they must not forget the painful lessons of the past. Fei eats her ice cream and comments that little Luna looks a little different today. Luna continues her speech, but the image begins to fail and the sound becomes distorted. A message of insufficient magical power appears, and the image in the mirror disappears completely. Elsewhere, Luna complains that her mirror is malfunctioning again amidst a mess. Luna is embarrassed when she realizes that the automatic image function failed and revealed her pajamas. The demon baby is delighted and says that Miss Luna looks very cute in her pajamas in front of everyone. Soon after, the baby is struck by a ray of light and falls to the ground. Frightened by the power, an angry crocodile Cage points a double-barreled gun at the baby who disrespected him. The fire demon Orntobius stands up angrily and asks what is happening in the chamber. The baby yells at the crocodile, who threatens to turn him into a meat pie next time. The hooded wizard yells for everyone to be quiet as the room turns into chaos. Suddenly, the Demon King slams his hand on the table, drawing the attention of everyone present. He shouts, "All right?" And all the demon generals finally shut up and look at him. Silence fills the room, and all the generals await their king's next command. But the Demon King says he has a stomach catch and needs to leave the meeting. He then says goodbye and tells them to finish their discussion alone as he leaves the room. The crocodile comments that the meeting was useless, while Feiya calls her bear to go home. The baby complains that he didn't get any benefits and wakes up someone who was sleeping in a coffin. A hand comes out of the coffin and a mysterious voice says, scaring everyone in the room. A blonde werewolf comes out of a coffin, stretching and saying he slept very well. The Wolf King says he is full of energy and runs off to cause trouble. The Demon King complains that his generals are scattered and no one takes him seriously anymore. Crying, he says he has lost his dignity, but Bella consoles him and says that everyone still obeys him. With that, he fills with confidence and says that he cannot be weak because he is the king of that world. So, the Demon King decides to recruit new subordinates to help him fight the hero. He asks Bella to help him recruit new warriors throughout the magical labyrinth. The king announces that anyone capable can become his direct subordinate for the great battle. Meanwhile, in the city of the undead, a man announces the recovery of weapons and magical items. A ghost floats, desperately asking for help, while other monsters cause chaos in the city. A zombie boy mourns the death of his grandfather, while other undead roam the streets. A bandit with a radio on his shoulder comments on the noise and how great it is to find something there. The bandit then throws his radio in the air and prepares to attack a defenseless old zombie. Angrily, the strong man asks the old man if he has anything of value and demands that he hand over everything. The bandit then throws the old man to the ground and complains that the city has nothing of value to him. The bandit complains that even in remote places, there are wanted posters for Hela. He then rips a wanted poster off the wall in anger and frustration. With an air of superiority, the group of bandits announces that they are now in command of the city. Meanwhile, in a desert, Yuni comes across a giant, frightening creature. The little boy faces a giant porcupine, holding an axe and looking very angry. In fear, Yuni starts running and screams for her bony uncle in a non-combat zone. The porcupine throws quills towards Yuni, but the protagonist watches from afar. The skeleton then jumps to save the boy and pulls one of the spikes out of the monster's back. With a quick movement, the bony uncle manages to catch the thorn without hurting himself. The giant porcupine screams in pain as the protagonist successfully holds the thorn. The former president celebrates getting an epic porcupine quill and runs away. The little monster yells for Yuni to run while the giant porcupine chases them furiously. The little boy asks if it's a good idea to steal things, and the skeleton says it's just a loan. Yuni then says that the monster doesn't seem to agree to lend its thorn at all. The porcupine then launches a devastating attack with its quills towards the two. The skeleton uses the stolen spike to defend itself from the attack, but it is thrown away. With that, he yells for Yuni to run as the furious monster continues to chase them. The bony uncle is thrown and hits a wooden board in the middle of the desert. Confused, the protagonist rolls his eyes without understanding what is happening there. He then realizes he is in a non-combat zone and celebrates his luck. The little skull calls Yuni closer to the sign to protect themselves from the giant monster. The porcupine stops abruptly in front of the sign with a very angry face. He gets very close to the skeleton, but does not attack it, which confirms the protagonist's suspicions. The bone creature realizes that the monster cannot attack them within that safe area. The porcupine then takes his axe and raises it, preparing for a big attack. With an intense glow, the plate is destroyed by the powerful blow of the furious monster. Suddenly, several loudspeakers emerge from the ground and issue a warning about the combat zone. The monster ignores the warnings and attacks the skeleton and the boy with all its strength. With that, a nearby city is bombarded by missiles that fall from the sky like rain. The speakers then turn into guns and start shooting at the porcupine. The monster is hit by several energy beams and falls to the ground completely defeated. The duo is shocked by the scene, but the protagonist says that non-combat zones are necessary. Yuni is impressed and says that the bony uncle is incredible for having planned all that. The bony uncle is embarrassed, says that a small scene like that is no big deal. They watch as the porcupine continues to be hit by more energy bolts. The protagonist then explains to Yuni that tactics are more important than brute force. With that, he says he will teach the boy to become a true warrior. The boy gets very excited and asks if he can really be his bony uncle's apprentice. The little skull is happy and thinks he will have an apprentice to help him fight and level up. With that, they enter an item shop within the city's non-combat zone. A pink-haired woman greets them and asks if he still wants the gun he saw last time. The protagonist places the porcupine quill on the counter and asks if it is enough. The seller takes the item and the exchange is successfully made for a sum of money. The woman then thanks him for the purchase and hands over a new and powerful steel sword. The former president marvels at the beauty and power of his newly acquired weapon. The protagonist admires his new sword, but suddenly feels a huge weight on his arm. With that, the sword falls to the floor with a loud thud, scaring everyone in the store. Yuni runs worried and asks if his master is okay after dropping the gun. The bone being then equips a pair of gloves that increase his strength to lift the sword. He manages to lift the heavy weapon and swings it with ease, showing off his new strength. The little boy praises the master for being so good with the sword, and the skeleton thanks him for the compliment. The saleswoman says they can come back anytime if they need anything else. The bunny uncle finds it strange that such a poor city has so many magical and rare items. He then decides to ask the saleswoman about the current situation in that abandoned city. The girl explains that the city was a famous commercial center where adventurers rested. With this, the labyrinth leaders invested a lot of money in the construction of the city every year. The woman then shows an old book with photos of what the city used to look like. The protagonist is amazed to see how beautiful and full of life the city was in the past. But she explains that the government stopped funding the city, and no one runs it anymore. With the lack of order, the city became chaos, and rich people moved to the center. The poorest zombies and monsters were left behind living in terrible conditions. This created a huge gap between the rich and the poor of the undead city. And to make matters worse, human adventurers always appear to loot and disturb everyone. The saleswoman becomes furious, just remembering the bandits who torment the city. She starts crying and says she used to run a shopping mall before all this. At that time, she sold various battle items, such as axes and powerful swords, in addition to selling magical items, beers and other drinks to passing adventurers. But now she can barely survive with her small rare item shop. The woman then throws herself on the counter, and the protagonist wonders what she is trying to do. She apologizes for the commotion and says she is very frustrated with the current situation. The former president realizes that the monsters are being exploited and wonders why the maze ignores them. Suddenly, he has a brilliant idea to help the city and the monsters that live there. The bony uncle asks if she accepts the rich monsters' treasures as payment. A day later in the central residential district, a scream echoes through the dark night. A rich monster screams in despair that his treasure has been stolen from his house. The rich monster is shocked and screams desperately, not knowing what to do. He looks up at the sky and sees several small creatures running away with bags of treasure. In the midst of the confusion, the protagonist runs with a dark aura and glowing eyes. But with so many thieves running around, the rich monster ends up losing sight of the real culprit. The bony uncle smiles and says his helmet is great for getting extra manpower. 2 days later, in a forest, a monster says he will never give up the spell of his ancestors. Mounted on his horse, the protagonist tells him to choose between the spell and his life. With a war cry, the little skull advances with his sword to attack the enemy. Yuni then appears and says that for justice, he will not retreat even a single step. 3 days later in the residential district, the moon shines brightly in the night sky. The skeleton then distributes the stolen gold to the poor monsters of the city. 2 wealthy ghosts discuss the new thief terrorizing the neighborhood. One of them says she is very scared of being the mysterious thief's next target. A skeleton warrior, clad in ornate armor and a crown, casually reads the morning paper, looking quite pleased with himself. The newspaper headline reveals the exploits of the flying thief, and he's delighted to see he has made the top story today. He thinks about his progress, having collected most treasures and materials, now wondering which of the last few difficult items to seek out first. While standing on a nearby wall, he spots a group of small, hooded skeletons marching in a perfect line down the street. He remembers that Fabric with the scent of death is on his list, and seeing them makes him think this must be his lucky day. With a powerful aura, he approaches the small creatures, asking them to do their uncle a favor, but his appearance is terrifying. The little skeletons recall their mother's warning to flee from strangers, suspecting he might be the notorious flying thief. Their fear quickly transforms into a menacing glare as their eyes begin to glow with a threatening blue energy. One of them shouts for the others to run, tossing a book into the air to create a diversion. As the tiny skeletons flee, he calls out to them, promising them delicious food if they stop running. Meanwhile, a tranquil scene unfolds at a peaceful pond filled with beautiful lotus flowers and lily pads. Two elegant black swans enjoy a quiet moment, with one complimenting the other's grace, feeling safe and undisturbed. But their peaceful interlude is suddenly disrupted by the sight of the skeleton king chasing the small figures in the background. The frantic chase continues, moving closer to the pond while the two swans remain oblivious for a moment longer. One swan nervously tells the other not to move, deciding it's best to pretend they see nothing since he is too dangerous to provoke. The small skeletons continue their escape in a single-file line, with their determined pursuer gaining on them. The two birds can only watch in shock as the chaotic group heads directly for their quiet sanctuary. In a flash, the small creatures leap across the pond, using the stunned swans' backs as stepping stones. As they land on the other side, the skeleton king shouts from behind, insisting that he isn't a bad guy. He then gets ready to jump into the water, boasting he'll show them the skills of a kindergarten swimming champion. He leaps forward, aiming for the water, but lands directly on the backs of the two startled swans. Splashing into the pond, he wonders what he landed on, questioning why it was so soft and not a statue as he first thought. The two swans whisper to each other, deciding it is time to raise their heads a little. With a powerful flick of their necks, they launch the skeleton warrior high into the air, sending him flying out of the pond. Despite the rude interruption, one swan tries to compose itself, reminding itself to stay calm and always be elegant. The chase continues into the West District, where a group of human looters are seen bullying the local monsters. One of the small, terrified skeletons runs ahead, crying out for help with tears streaming down its face. The skeleton king follows closely behind, still calling out for the kid not to run away from him. A bandit spots the small creature and alerts his group, while another notices the pursuing monster is covered in treasure. The group of looters quickly surrounds the armored skeleton, who stops and demands to know who they are and what they are doing. The bandits get ready to fight, overjoyed that they have stumbled upon such a big fat goat, and feeling incredibly lucky, the skeleton warrior feigns surprise, looking at the group and asking if they are really trying to rob him. One of the looters charges forward, swinging a large axe down toward the crowned figure. The skeleton's eyes glow with power as he calmly states that it is now his turn to act. He effortlessly blocks the axe with his sword, the impact sending a shockwave through the air. Standing over his defeated opponent, the warrior mockingly asks if that is all he has got. The remaining looters are stunned, wondering what is going on since they believed skeletons were just low-level monsters. He then unleashes a powerful burst of fire from his hand, sending a massive fireball toward the shocked group. He grips his sword tightly, channeling immense golden energy into the ornate blade. A torrent of fire erupts from his weapon as he directs the powerful attack at the terrified looters. With glowing red eyes, he scoffs at the idea of being a low-level monster, stating that their insults are making him angry. The remaining looters realize they are in deep trouble as the enraged skeleton warrior leaps towards them. The largest of the bandits grabs his spiked flail, shouting as he prepares to swing it at the approaching figure. The warrior easily deflects the powerful swing with his shield, the impact ringing out as he stops the attack cold. With a burst of energy, he lands a heavy blow on the bandit, sending the large man flying backward through the air. The looter crashes into his female companion, knocking them both to the ground as he cries out in pain. One of their allies rushes over to the unconscious pair, desperately trying to wake them up, while the skeleton watches. The man sweats nervously, thinking that a wise person avoids immediate losses, and that they need to find a way out of there. Suddenly, the Skeleton King appears directly behind him, calmly asking if the kid wants to get out of there. The bandit grips his staff, thinking that if he can block the sword, he might be able to discover his opponent's weakness. He braces himself and raises his weapon to parry the glowing sword as the warrior brings it down. But the incredible weight of the blade is too much for him, and he cries out as he is forced down onto his knees. Seeing his opponent struggle, the skeleton delivers a powerful kick directly to the man's face. He recalls his past hardships, declaring that after years of struggle, he will not allow himself to be bullied again. He turns his attention to the final bandit standing, the bald leader of the group, and challenges him to come forward. The leader grits his teeth, angered that someone would be so unreasonable toward his 5 blessed battalion. His axe crackles with blue lightning as he questions how he could let a mere monster provoke him to such an extent. His eyes glow with a furious red light as he lets out a powerful roar, ready to unleash his full strength. The skeleton warrior laughs, saying he will allow himself to be hit for a full minute before moving to engage. As the leader charges, the skeleton stomps on the chain of a fallen flail, causing its downed owner to cry out. The bandit leader sees an opening and urges his allies to take this opportunity to attack him now. One of the looters charges forward, bringing a heavy club down on the skeleton warrior as he is distracted. The female bandit then leaps into the air, throwing multiple daggers that harmlessly stick into the skeleton's armor. He realizes he is outnumbered and decides it is best to retreat for the moment, stating he will be back. Annoyed by the situation, he declares that he is going to go get some help to even the odds. He dashes toward a nearby hotel, ignoring the terrified monsters as he heads straight for the entrance. Without slowing down, he kicks the door open and bursts inside, calling out for Yuni. Inside, he finds the young boy still fast asleep in bed, unaware of the commotion outside. He quickly tells Yuni to wake up, explaining that there is something important he needs his help with. Without wasting another moment, he grabs the boy's hand and pulls him out of bed, telling him it is time to go with his master. With his young apprentice now in tow, the skeleton warrior thinks it is finally time to put his skills to good use. Meanwhile, in a nearby alley, the looters are busy splitting up all the money they have stolen. One of them suddenly freezes and tells the others to look up, pointing toward the end of the alley. They are shocked to see the skeleton warrior has returned, now leading a large and varied army of monsters. He points forward and commands his summoned allies to attack the group of stunned bandits. The looters are horrified, questioning why he is back again with so many followers. Beside the warrior, Yuni looks on and asks his Uncle Bones if the humans they are facing are bad people. The skeleton explains that this will be a practical lesson for Yuni, teaching him that humans can be both good and bad. The bandit leader readies his axe, acknowledging that even though the monsters are low level, they are still quite difficult to deal with. Another looter struggles against the swarm, yelling that they cannot win, and that they need to find a way to escape. One of the bandits corners Yuni, mockingly telling the small boy to come at him. With tears in his eyes, the terrified boy asks the man what he wants from him. The skeleton king watches from a distance, commenting that he cannot help it if the man is looking to die. The bandit staff flies through the air, but the skeleton warrior easily deflects it, telling the bad guy not to come any closer. In the end, the entire group of looters is defeated, kneeling on the ground bruised and bound. Sitting on a makeshift throne, the skeleton interrogates the leader, demanding to know who they are and why they are there. The defiant leader spits back that they are monsters and will never tell him anything. Amused, the warrior says he came prepared for a tough guy and orders a small creature to bring the medicine. The bandit leader laughs, mocking him for using a child, but the small creature's eye glows red as its arm bulks up with power. The now muscular creature grabs the man's face, telling him to stop talking nonsense and drink the potion. After being force-fed the liquid, the bandit leader collapses to the ground, foaming at the mouth. The skeleton king then turns to the others, ordering them to tell him everything they know. One of the larger bandits quickly agrees to talk, but starts giving strange code names instead of his real one. The skeleton grows angry, demanding their real names, but the man begs for mercy, claiming they are ghosts who forgot their names. He begins to explain that they used to be a group of adventurers who wanted to conquer the labyrinth. A flashback shows the 5 of them running happily, with their leader vowing to become the king of adventurers. But their journey was difficult, and they eventually met a powerful monster that defeated them all in a single move. When they awoke, they realized they were dead and trapped as spirits with no way to leave the spirit palace. Other adventurers rejected them, so they had no choice but to start stealing to survive. They even sought refuge with other spirits, but a grim reaper figure rejected them for not having enough resentment. He finds their tragic story so winding that he feels too embarrassed to do anything about it. While Yuni covers his face beside him, the skeleton then asks what they will do now, stating they cannot keep bullying the little monsters. Yuni thinks they could be allies if they were not so ugly. Suddenly, one of the adventurers begins to glow, his body transforming into a translucent, sparkling spirit form. The newly purified spirit joyfully announces that the boy has the power of the Holy Spirit, meaning they can all finally be free. The Skeleton King looks at Yuni in surprise, wondering if the boy's sword was what just freed the adventurer's soul. He figures that since Yuni is a genuine hero, it is not uncommon for his weapon to have sacred attributes. He then asks if the others want to be purified too. He tells Yuni they will do something nice, instructing him to chop them. He explains that some violent acts can actually be good deeds, with his sword glowing brightly. The young apprentice says he understands and agrees to follow his master's orders. As the spirits are freed, they thank Master Bones for killing them, prompting him to tell them not to use such words in front of a child. The Skeleton King has a pleased and slightly flustered expression, surrounded by twinkling stars after the successful purification. After the spirits disappear, a beautiful and valuable-looking pendant is left on the ground, and he realizes they were hiding something. He picks up the glowing item and happily declares that he will accept it as a reward for his good deed. With the work done, he tells Yuni it is time to go back and rest, admiring his newly acquired treasure. Meanwhile, outside of town under the night sky, an army of spectral knights on ghostly steeds approaches with menacing intent. Their leader, a warrior with a flaming blue head, orders his troops to search the town and find the king's missing sacred pendant. 2 days later, the sun shines brightly on the town as monsters, and people go about their day peacefully. The Skeleton King stretches and celebrates another beautiful day, while a sleepy Yuni asks him what they are going to do. Their peaceful morning is interrupted when they both turn their heads in alarm towards a commotion happening further up the street. A cavalry of spectral knights charges into the town, and the Skeleton King wonders where these soldiers came from. The ghostly soldiers begin attacking the town's residents, causing panic and chaos as they cut down anyone in their path. One of the blue spectral soldiers smashes a nearby window with the butt of his spear, continuing the rampage. The Skeleton King and the young boy both wonder why they feel so bad for these invading soldiers. The leader of the spectral knights blocks their path, towering over them on his ghostly steed with a menacing presence. The Skeleton King's expression hardens as the sacred pendant, hanging around his neck, glows with a faint purple light. The spectral leader immediately recognizes the item, identifying it as the king's sacred pendant. Realizing this is bad, he tells Yuni they need to get out of there immediately as the spectral army closes in. Behind the spectral knights, a group of what appear to be powerful robed mages begins to gather their energy. They unleash a powerful purple magic, sending multiple orbs of energy hurtling toward the fleeing pair. Yuni calls out to his master as they run, while the skeleton wonders aloud why he is being chased so relentlessly. The spectral leader calls him a vile thief as jagged purple crystals erupt from the ground all around them. The knight brings his weapon down with immense force, shattering the ground with a powerful wave of icy energy. He tries to reason with the knight, pointing out that since they are both undead, they should be able to talk things out. The spectral leader ignores him, his sword glowing with a menacing blue flame as he prepares another attack. He unleashes a powerful blast of energy from his sword, which the Skeleton King barely manages to block. The knight scoffs, questioning how a lowly skeleton monster that cannot even take a single hit could compare to him. Yuni bravely steps forward with his sword drawn, telling the spectral knight to leave his master alone. The young boy unleashes a powerful slash of blue energy from his sword, sending it flying toward the enemy. But the knight easily deflects the attack with his spear, sending waves of energy crashing down around them. Seeing them resist, the spectral leader declares they are resisting arrest and orders his troops to kill them. Suddenly, glowing red eyes begin to appear in the windows and doorways of the surrounding buildings. He and Yuni are completely surrounded by the spectral army, their spears pointed menacingly inward. With a determined look, the skeleton warrior asks if they really think they are the only ones with soldiers. Suddenly, a chaotic swarm of monsters descends from the rooftops, crashing down onto the unsuspecting spectral knights. The skeleton king points forward with a grin and gives a simple, decisive order to his summoned army, telling them to kill the enemy. His monsters unleash a flurry of powerful attacks, overwhelming the spectral leader with a barrage of magical energy. He grabs Yuni and begins to retreat, realizing that his own cannon fodder troops will not last long against such a powerful enemy. With a thoughtful expression, he comes up with a new plan to deal with the overwhelming threat. He summons a ghostly steed of his own and tells it to take them out of town, with Yuni riding in front of him. The spectral knights give chase, their own glowing mounts galloping in hot pursuit of the fleeing pair. Arriving at a bustling town square, he sees a recruitment booth for the Demon King's army and tells the crowd to move. He rides his horse directly into the line of potential recruits, causing confusion among the various monsters waiting to sign up. Meanwhile, the pursuing spectral leader unleashes another powerful slash from his flaming blue sword. The attack crashes down on the recruitment booth, sending debris flying and causing panic among the crowd. An angry monster demands to know who cut the line, just as the skeleton king is sent flying by the explosion. He lands directly on the sign-up sheet, his dizzy eyes spinning as he makes an accidental handprint on the paper. The recruiter announces that the sign-up was successful and calls for the next person in line, leaving the skeleton king confused. The spectral patrol arrives on the scene, announcing that they are on a mission and ordering everyone to get out of their way. The skeleton king is reflected in the spectral leader's armor as he realizes this is the perfect chance to escape. He tells Yuni to come on, and that they should take this opportunity to run away while everyone is distracted. While they try to escape, he grabs a dizzy Yuni by the hand, telling him to take this opportunity to run away from the chaos. They manage to escape the town, riding their exhausted horse through a rocky landscape just outside the city. Their escape comes to an abrupt end as the horse stumbles, sending the skeleton king and his apprentice tumbling to the ground. Catching his breath, he expresses his relief that they finally got away, while Yuni and their small pet recover beside him. He clenches his fist in frustration, remarking that no matter which world he is in, the strong always prey on the weak. He then tells a surprised Yuni that with the boy's help, he can no longer just paddle along, as a strong hero should be used well. He grabs the boy's head, explaining that they are attacked because they are not strong enough, and that he has made a decision. He gives a thumbs up, declaring that for the next month, they will train like demons, and that Yuni, as a hero, must never give up. The next day, at the foot of the mountains, a powerful level 15 boar monster orders his lower-level minions to get back to work. The skeleton king and Yuni observe the hogshed camp from a distance, with the skeleton explaining that it is full of evil monsters. He tells Yuni to watch closely as he sits atop his horse, ready to show his young apprentice how it is done. The level 15 boar monster snorts, its red eyes glowing with rage as it senses the intruders approaching. With a roar, the leader and his army of level 5 minions charge forward with their weapons drawn, ready to fight. The skeleton king sends a flurry of golden, crescent-shaped projectiles flying toward the charging horde. He effortlessly defeats the entire army, leaving only the leader for Yuni and declaring that it is now the boy's turn. With tears streaming down his face, the young boy nervously agrees to do his best as he faces the powerful monster. After the battle, the skeleton king happily counts the bags of gold and treasure they have plundered from the camp. Yuni sits exhausted beside the defeated boar monster, while his master in the background praises him for a job well done. On day 3 at the wilderness skeleton bandit camp, Yuni stands over a defeated bandit leader as his master rushes in to help. He happily carries a large sack of treasure, thinking how easy it is to level up with Yuni's help, and setting a goal to reach level 20 in 10 days. He tells a nervous Yuni that he has too little combat experience and needs to practice every day to improve. Kneeling before the boy, he places a hand on his head and encourages him to become a real hero, asking if he is confident. Yuni happily agrees, determined to live up to his master's expectations and train hard. On day 4, at the mass gravesite sinkhole, he cheers on Yuni from the safety of a campfire, shouting, "No pain, no gain." Down in the sinkhole, the bruised and battered boy cries out to his master that he is dying, surrounded by undead monsters. Meanwhile, the Skeleton King casually roasts meat over the fire, explaining that it is a hero's duty to fight monsters for his own good. A few days later, a lone tent stands in a desolate, windy landscape, the sand blowing around it. Inside the tent, the Skeleton King tells Yuni it is too windy to go out and suggests they talk instead. When he gets no response, he sits up and is surprised to find that Yuni's bed is empty. Yuni feels his master's demonic training working, and he is excited to be getting stronger, having already reached level 5. Their small, green pet, Fang Fang, barks urgently, trying to get the Skeleton King's attention. The creature runs frantically in circles, covered in dirt, and looking distressed as it continues to bark. He picks up the frantic pet, asking what is wrong and if something has happened to Yuni. He runs out of the tent, following Fang Fang to a rocky path, where he finds Yuni's sword lying on the ground. He picks up the weapon, his eyes glowing as he realizes with dread that it is Yuni's sword. He follows the trail to the entrance of the Vengeful Spirit Mountain Valley, a dark and ominous cave, thinking it does not look good. He asks Fang Fang what is going on, and the small creature trembles as it points a shaky finger toward the cave. A dark, shadowy figure emerges from the cave, asking if they are looking for the owner of the sword. A large, cracked skull with glowing red eyes suddenly animates from a pile of bones on the ground. A small, mustached corpse worm emerges from the skull, explaining that he has seen the kid before, but finding him will be quite an adventure. The Skeleton King is shocked by the talking worm, demanding to know what is going on. The corpse worm explains that a group of evil spirits resides in the valley, using sinister winds to lure humans to vent their resentments. He trembles as he asks if the spirits are scary and if there are a lot of them. From the dark, narrow entrance of the cave, the worm explains that no one who enters has ever come back. A strange, red symbol appears on the animated skull, seemingly marking it with a dark energy. The Skeleton King panics, wondering if Yuni was caught by one of those things and trying to figure out what to do. He remembers Yuni's smiling face and reminds himself that the boy is his disciple who has never complained, and also his wealth code. With renewed determination, he tells Fang Fang that they are going to go into the cave and save Yuni. Inside the vast, glowing blue cavern, Yuni is seen tied up and suspended over a group of robed figures. A row of hooded spirits, holding glowing blue lanterns, float upside down in the air, watching the scene below. Yuni slowly opens his eyes, confused about what is happening as he hangs upside down. He cries out for help as he realizes he is tied up, while the crowd of spirits below chants for him to be burned. A chieftain with glowing purple eyes silences the crowd and declares that the trial will begin. Reading from a glowing book, the chieftain begins to list the boy's identity as a human and his alleged crimes. Yuni is found guilty of being too good looking, displaying superiority, and being young and fearless, causing secondary harm to others. The trial is declared over, and the chieftain orders for Yuni to be taken away for a midnight execution. The Skeleton King nervously tells himself to calm down, realizing he cannot back out now. Sweating profusely, he steels himself, knowing that they need to go or they will be too late. As he sneaks into the cave, he sees a group of spirits in numbered vests and wonders what they are doing. He and Fang Fang slide down a steep, icy slope, trying to move quickly and quietly through the treacherous cavern. He peeks from behind a rock and spots a large machine, wondering if that blower is how the sinister wind is made. The team leader reports that another human couple has been captured and decides they will judge them since the chief is resting. The captured man tells his partner not to be afraid as they kneel before the spirits, While the leader declares the trial's beginning, the trial leader declares them guilty of public intimacy, while the other spirits complain about their own loneliness and past heartbreaks. He watches in disbelief, wondering why the spirits are acting like big bad guys. Before deciding to go find Yuni, he comes across a spirit with the number 6 on its vest, who is startled by his sudden appearance. The number 6 spirit declares he will go and immediately begins to cast a powerful purple magic spell. The spirit shouts, "Intruder," and unleashes the spell, prompting the Skeleton King to tell him not to do that. He stands firm, ready to counter the attack, as the spirit finishes casting its powerful spell. With a powerful swing of both his swords, the Skeleton King easily deflects the magic, looking annoyed. He stands over the unconscious spirit, remarking that he had hoped to talk and get some information out of him. 2 other spirits, numbers 2 and 4, call out for number 6, wondering where he has gone. The skeleton quickly puts on the fallen spirit's robe and vest, calling for Fang Fang to help him get into position. Number 6, now played by the skeleton, casually appears, much to the annoyance of his fellow spirits who scold him for messing around. They tell him to hurry up and get back to work, and he realizes this is a good opportunity to get closer to them. He is handed a pickaxe and put to work in a mine, where other spirits are busy digging. He grumbles to himself that he is not here to work as a laborer, and that he needs to find a way to locate Yuni. He casually asks number 2 what happened to the human couple that was captured. Number 2 explains they are being held until night, when they will be executed along with the human child captured that morning. He asks where they are being held, but number 2 says he does not know. He nervously laughs off the question, claiming he was just curious about where the prisoners were being held. After a day of work, the team leader uses a megaphone to praise his workers and ask if they were all wronged in life. The spirits raise their fists in unison, shouting that they have suffered injustice. The leader then rallies them with chants of revenge, which the Skeleton King finds to be a strange brainwashing slogan. As the team leader walks away, he suddenly stops and asks who brought the smell of smoke into the cavern. The leader angrily calls for anyone who just left their workstation to come forward immediately. Several spirits, including the disguised skeleton, step forward, and some try to comfort their enraged leader. He worries that the team leader is about to blow his cover and expose him as an intruder. The team leader's eyes glow with a fiery intensity as he holds up a small, cylindrical object. He points to the disguised skeleton, ordering him to take a step forward, while he pretends to have twisted his ankle. One of the other spirits, number 4, steps forward and confesses to bringing the smell of smoke with him. He explains that he found a flame shooting device on the captured man, and in a fit of rage over his own poverty, set the man's hair on fire. The enraged leader orders everyone else to work overtime and tells number 4 never to let him smell that odor again. The disguised skeleton breathes a sigh of relief, realizing it was a false alarm and he was not the one who caught the leader's attention. The team leader then announces that the chief wants a man from each team to help set up the execution site. He points to the disguised skeleton, telling him that since he is new, he should go with the others to learn. He realizes this is his chance to meet the leader and find out where Yuni is being held, feeling incredibly lucky. As he is led away, he thinks to himself about his plan to rescue his young apprentice from the clutches of the vengeful spirits. He follows the other 2 spirits, thinking to himself that it is probably better to just keep his mouth shut for now. But one of them suddenly asks how he died since he is new, causing him to panic as he wonders how he is supposed to answer that.